Hello and welcome to the revision session number 4 of BIT EN1101 Communication Skills, BIT Bachelor of Information Technology by University of Colombo School of Computing. So far we have been doing a revision session on the e-test. We discussed the MCQ question paper of 2014. We finished discussing the whole paper and then we switched on to the practical test, and we have already discussed about the speaking test and how to do the listening test. So today it's the writing component of the practical test which we should touch on so that you will feel very comfortable once you face the exam, because most of you are a bit too reluctant to come for the practical test, which should not be the case, because as I said, that is the easiest component of the exam so far. So you do not need to be afraid. So if you have watched the revision programs, you would have noticed that it's really easy and it's not what you think. It's not that difficult. So to touch upon the writing component of EN1101 module, the practical test, I'm here today, and I thought of referring to the model practical test paper that we have on the LMS. So hopefully everybody has logged into the LMS and hope you have seen these, what I'm talking about, the model practical test paper, the content, the teaching material, and whatever we have uploaded. It's all for your learning and it contributes immensely whenever you come to answering the test papers, and of course for your knowledge as an IT graduate. So here we are. This is a screenshot of the LMS that we have here, and you can see that EN1101 practical test. So click that and we go on to this page. So here you have the important instructions for the writing component of the practical test, which is 30 minutes. So the practical test is overall 1 hour. It has 1 hour's duration, of which 15 minutes are allocated for the speaking test and 15 for the listening test and 30 minutes for the writing test. So the duration of the paper is 30 minutes. The medium of instruction and questions is English, of course. This is more or less the English paper, the communication skills. This paper has one essay question. It has only one question. So you have to write an essay. So you have been doing all throughout writing essays even in your childhood in school. So it's not going to be difficult at all for you. Write your answers in English using the space provided in this question paper. So you have to write it then and there itself and not on any other pieces of paper. Please remember. Also, you have to remember that when you are given this question paper, you are supposed to return it to the invigilators. Please keep that in mind. Don't take them home. So we have some more instructions there. Do not tear off any part of this answer book. So you get it in the form of an answer book. So that's why I told you, you should not write on any other paper either given to you or you bring from home. Any unauthorized material is not allowed. So it's just this answer book that you have to write your essay here. Under no circumstances may this book, used or unused, be removed from the examination hall by a candidate. It's a usual examination instruction. If a paper is not printed, please inform the supervisor immediately. So having read all those instructions, this is a screenshot of the paper, rather the answer book that you get. And you have to write your index number, because in the practical test your index number is auto entered into the system, but here you have to write your index number. So this is a question. You have to write an essay around 350 words. So it is all right if it is roughly that amount. roughly. It doesn't have to be exactly the same amount of words, but roughly around that. Write an essay on any one of the following topics. So this word one has been typed in italics, and it is a bold word as well, because I have seen some of you, though very rarely, you try to write on the both topics. So you are just given a selection, given a choice there. Two topics are there, you can select one. And topic number one is if I were a bird. Topic number one is if I were a bird. So you have to imagine you are a bird and how things would go for you if you were a bird. And the next is the importance of English in the field of education. So those are topics of two varieties, and it depends on the person. The candidate can select whatever you like, the type of topic you like. So answer in this box, and you have to use this answer sheet or the answer book to write the essay. Okay, now since we have to write an essay, I thought it will be very useful to talk about how to write an essay. Now once again, this is clearly, very clearly given on the LMS lessons in the teacher's notes as well. So please refer to them and find more details on how to write an essay. So the parts of an essay: introduction, body and conclusion. So whether, irrespective of a speech, or whether it's a speech or whether it's an essay, you have to have these three components: the introduction, the body and the conclusion. So these three components arranged logically will do the needful. So everything should have an introduction, even an essay. So the introduction, let us see what components should be there in the introduction of an essay. So as usual, an essay begins with an introduction. Like everything else, prepares the reader for the essay. Obviously, that is the duty of the introduction. Without taking you by surprise, without just overloading you with a lot of content all of the sudden, the introduction, the duty of the introduction is to smoothly prepare you for the rest of the essay. Okay, this is what is coming ahead. So that's the introduction. Introduces the main idea and the purpose of the essay. So in the introduction, it is important to introduce the main idea of the essay and what you are going to talk about, and the purpose of the essay. What is the purpose of the essay? What message you are going to convey through the essay? So it is always good to have a message conveyed through an essay. So it depends on the essay, but it's always good to try it out. Try to figure out the main purpose of the essay and the main idea of the essay. Should be attention grabbing. Now this is of extreme importance because the introduction is the first opportunity where you grab the attention of the reader. Now supposing you are not writing for the exam, because in the exam the examiner is compelled to read your essay whether he or she likes it or not, whether it's attractive or not. But just imagine you're writing this essay for a newspaper article, or maybe you're writing it for a book. Now, for someone to read it, it has to be attractive. So if you have attractive content in the middle, nobody would know if the opening is boring. Nobody is likely to proceed reading. So the first opportunity that you get to grab the attention of the reader is the introduction of the essay, which has to be very, very attention grabbing for the reader to feel like reading the rest of the essay. Now, how can it be attention grabbing? Now, for example, without straight away introducing it, without straight away saying what you're going to talk about, what you're going to write about, it's always nice, as in the case of delivering a presentation, as in the case of delivering a public speech, it is always nice to start with something like a question. Now, for example, if it's a public speech, you can ask a question from the audience. Now, here too, you can start with a question. Then the reader who reads this question will go through a brainstorming session, he or she would definitely think of the answer for this question, which will definitely prepare for the rest of your writing, rest of your piece of work, rest of your creative writing or essay. So that's a very, very good way of starting an essay. And also a quotation, a quote made by a famous person, which is very, very relevant to the essay. So which enhances, which makes it more effective, will definitely be very, very attention grabbing. Or even a direct announcement, definition would benefit this essay to have it as an opening statement. So it's going to be lovely to have an attention grabbing opening to catch your audience and keep their eyes glued to the paper, glued to your piece of writing which you intend to do. Don't think, because this is the examination, the examiner has to read it anyway. So you should impress the examiner to feel like giving you more marks, to feel like allocating more marks for the essay. So make it very, very attention grabbing. As I said, if you have a boring opening but still you have very interesting content in the body of the essay, nobody will know that unless they read it. So to make them read your essay, have a very attention grabbing opening. Moving to the body of the essay. So if you go through the stuff on the slide, it develops the main idea of the essay. The body develops the main idea of the essay. Body is the place where these ideas are described in detail. Explains, illustrates, or provides evidence to support the main idea of the essay. So it explains the points that you intend to deliver. It illustrates with illustration, maybe sometimes, maybe if you have any statistics, graphs, charts, maybe you can use them to illustrate as well. Or provides evidence. You have to provide evidence to prove your point, to make your reader feel confident about you, that you know what you're speaking of, that you know what you're writing about. So all this evidence should also go into the body of the essay, and it supports the main idea of the essay. They overall should support the main idea. All the points that you intend to mention in the essay should support the main idea. Every illustration, every explanation, and every evidence that you provide, or every statistic that you provide. A single paragraph discusses only one aspect of the main idea. Now please remember that. Now when we did the revision, there was a passage about Sigiriya. Now in the passage there were several paragraphs, and each paragraph described about different aspects of the landscaping of Sigiriya. So likewise, your passage, your essay, the body of your essay should have a paragraph dedicated to discuss each point or each aspect of the main idea. Another should be described always in a new paragraph, but not continue in what you have been writing or the previous paragraph. Clarity and cohesiveness should be maintained between the paragraphs of the body text. So clarity should be there, handwriting, because this is a place where handwriting will be checked. You are supposed to write manually, you are not going to type your essay here. So your handwriting will be checked, and if you have good handwriting, it's going to be definitely a very good advantage to you. But if you have very bad handwriting, I'm sorry to say, the examiners won't bother, because they're not archaeologists trying to read inscriptions. So remembering that the examiners are not archaeologists trying to read inscriptions, please write clearly. If they can't read what you have written, they will not bother to read at all, and you won't get good marks for it. So please maintain the clarity and the cohesiveness. There should be a logical flow from paragraph to paragraph. Now say you describe each point in each of the paragraphs that you have in the body text. There should be a logical flow in that, one point leading to the other point very smoothly. It should not be, things brought out of nowhere all of the sudden. It should have a very, very, very logical flow, so that the speech, or rather the essay, is very well understood, very comfortably the reader can grasp the idea, grasp the message that you are going to put across to him or her. So clarity and cohesiveness should be maintained at all times. So let's go to the conclusion of an essay. Now, an essay ends with a conclusion, we all know that. Brings the essay to a logical end. Remember that the conclusion brings the essay to a logical end. So it provides closure for the reader by reviewing main points. Now you can review the main points which you mentioned in the body, maybe in one sentence in the conclusion part of the essay. Remind the readers of the primary focus of the essay. Now you have to keep on reminding, keep on the point that you need to stress, that you need the reader to understand. So remind it, remind the primary focus, not everything, but the primary focus of the essay by restating the main idea in different words, maybe in a very attractive form, once again, like the opening. An effective conclusion would be a memorable one. For example, a call for action. So remember, now the opening should be attention grabbing and the conclusion should be a memorable one, because by the end of the day the reader or maybe the examiner who reads your essay will definitely go home and forget all about it. But it's good if you can give your reader, whether it's the examiner or whether it's the reader of your book or your newspaper article, if you can give them something to take home, something that is food for thought, something that will help them develop their way of thinking, or something that will change their way of thinking, and so that they agree with your point of view or they understand your point of view, you need to give something in a way that it is memorable. So if you have a memorable conclusion, that would definitely highlight your message. So it could be something like a call for action. For example, call for action means something like, let's stand up against violence towards animals, something like that, but in a different wording, maybe an emotional, with some emotional appeal that people would remember, a memorable message, etc. So these are the parts of an essay that I have described. I have not actually described how to write these two topics in this way, because there is no actual one answer to write an essay, one way of writing an essay. You can write the essay according to these instructions in numerous ways. So it is creative writing. Yes, an effective conclusion would be definitely a memorable one. For example, your examiner, the person who reads your essay, maybe if it's a newspaper article, maybe the reader of the newspaper or the reader of your book. So they might read the whole thing, and by the end of the day when they go home, they might forget all of that. So what if you could give them something to remember, something to take home, something that will make you remember or make them understand your point of view. So if you make it a memorable conclusion, that will be very effective. How can you make it a memorable conclusion? For example, if you can include something like a strong call for action. What do I mean by a call for action is, for example, say something like, okay, let's stand up against violence towards animals. Maybe you can say it in some other way, in some other words, like for example with an emotional appeal, with a little emotional story which was included in the body of your essay. So with some emotional appeal, if you can say it in a way that touches the hearts of people, that will be memorable. And also if you have some other memorable message, that will definitely help your reader, and it will give him or her food for thought. It will improve her way of thinking, and it will make her or him understand your point of view. That is your intention, because that should be your intention when you write something or when you make a speech. So here I have discussed the three basic components of writing an essay, and I have not discussed how to write these two topics. Getting back to these two topics, now the topics were If I Were a Bird and the importance of English in the field of education. Now I want you to try it yourself now that you know the parts of an essay, and try to write it yourself. I didn't write it here because there is no one way of writing an essay. There are numerous ways of writing an essay. It's your piece of creative writing. So I want you to do it. It's given in the model paper. You can refer to the LMS and log into the LMS and refer to this paper. And try to write these two essay topics, both essay topics, for practice according to the instructions that I mentioned here. And these instructions are given on the lessons itself of parts of an essay and how to write an essay. So hopefully that helped you in dealing with the writing component of the practical exam of EN1101, and hope it helped you, and hope you will be very good in writing essays in future, and wish you all the very best in the BIT exams. Thank you very much.